Hello. We're going to start talking about two things today, the Norman Kingdom and the Angevin Empire. Now, the Norman Kingdom section begins with this guy on the far left-hand side, but I'll just remind you of the story because you studied it in year 7 probably. In 1066, the current King of England, a guy called Edward the Confessor, who's basically the grandson of Canute, dies without an heir to the throne, and it causes what's called a succession crisis, and 3 people, Harold Godwinson, Harold Hardrada and William of Normandy, all lay claim to England's throne. They all have different reasons to claim that they are the person that deserves to be King of England. They all have a few battles involving something called the Battle of Hastings, but our guy on the left hand side, William of Normandy, wins of the 3 and he becomes William the Conqueror. He is a French man from Normandy, the top of France, you can see the sticky outy bit near a place called Caen. A French guy manages to take over the entirety of England in the space of a year. Now, the thing is that's different about William the Conqueror compared to our King Canute kind of stuff is that he is completely foreign. There's not been like people that are French in Britain any time before. No, this is a fully foreign invasion force that's taken over a country, and he makes some absolute changes. Normans come and take over this Britain, and they are able to establish a lot of different things. First and foremost, they build a lot of castles in Britain. If you've ever seen a castle in Britain, it is highly likely it was made during the lifespan of William the Conqueror 1,000 years ago. William used these to, shall we say, stop Anglo-Saxons and, well, Viking remnants rebelling against him. He wanted them under his control, and he controlled Britain via these castles. He also established, shall we say, French as the language of the upper classes of Britain. He used money to pay off these nobles that ran Britain, and basically, he controlled Britain with an iron fist. He really made Britain a strong, stable country, but it was a kind of scared, stable country. There's loads of different changes under Britain that have occurred during this time. Loads of churches, cathedrals and monasteries being made because the French love Christianity and Jesus. The introduction of, should we say, levied taxes, and that idea that William the Conqueror, and, well, the idea that it was a rich country because William the Conqueror was so organised via a thing called the Domesday Book. Now, this means that Britain is now, this bit of England is part of the empire, and the top of France is part of this little tiny empire that William's made for himself. The thing is, when William dies, he has 3 children. He has 3 children. I've completely forgotten their names. We've got Robert, William, and Henry. The thing is, William didn't really know what to give his sons, and he decided, well, one of you is going to get England, one of you is going to get Normandy, and one of you is going to get nothing. And he gave, well, his eldest son England, his second son Normandy, and gave his last son Henry nothing. Henry got annoyed at that, and after his brother passed away of natural causes, he actually went to war with his own brother to take it back, and Henry I becomes the leader of a new empire. And Henry I is quite a dramatic fellow. He gets married to a variety of people. He gets married to a French woman to try and gain more land, and he's very dramatic, but the key person you need to know about is the other picture on my board. That's Henry's grandson, a guy called Henry II. The thing is, Henry II expands the empire of his great-grandfather at this point, William the Conqueror. What he does is he expands it through 2 different methods. So first and foremost, through his parents, Henry II manages to get more of France. You can see these different areas towards the orange stuff towards the bottom, Rennes, Nantes. These areas have actually got names in your textbook. It's called Brittany, Touraine, Maine, and Anjou. These areas of France that, should we say, Henry II inherited from being a child. And in fact, he inherited areas of Ireland as well. See, the thing is, Henry II wasn't done with that. He decided to invade more of Ireland. He decided to actually go over, sail across the sea, and take over most of this island on the left-hand side of that page, you can see. He actually wants this area because he thinks Dublin's a really good trading port. He thinks Dublin could be turned into, so to say, a moneymaker for his little empire. And then he chooses to expand the empire further with another trick of marrying somebody. He marries a woman called Eleanor of Aquitaine. Now, Aquitaine is a really big area of France. It's this pink bit towards the bottom of my page, if you can see. Aquitaine is a rich, prosperous and massive bit of France, and he wins it essentially without having to kill anyone. He just gets married to his, shall we say, leader. Now, Henry, in the span of his lifetime, has made his great-grandfather's empire much bigger. It's now no longer called a Norman kingdom. It's now called the Angevin Empire. Don't ask me why it's called that, you don't need to know it. But the Angevin Empire is when England is now the centre of an empire that spreads to Ireland, and from England all the way down to the top of Spain, all the way through half of essentially what is now modern France. Britain is now arguably one of the strongest empires in Europe. Henry II is a very powerful ruler, and the thing is, he is actually clearly well respected. This is rich area of lands that he's in control of, and as well as that, he needs to make sure that there's peace between them. See, Henry II was known as a travelling king, because the thing is, France is not one unified country. You might own it all, but it doesn't mean they like each other. He had to travel around France, constantly keeping it in check and constantly keeping people peaceful. And he had to do that in England as well. He had to travel to Ireland to keep his people on side. He had to travel to Britain to keep the Anglo-Saxons on side. It was a nightmare, but Henry II was well liked. He constantly moved to keep people on side. Now that's going to be important for the stuff coming later, how hard it is to maintain an empire like this. But you need to just remember the key points about what's changed in Britain, who's migrated and how, who's joined Britain at this time. So first and foremost, here's the questions you need to know the answers to. Who was William the Conqueror? How did William change England? What did he bring? Which of William's 3 sons managed to expand the Norman kingdom? How did Henry add Ireland to the Angevin Empire? How did Henry add France to the Angevin Empire? And why was Henry seen as a good king? If you know the answers to all of those with specific bits of information, you'll be sorted. The way I think you should find that specific information is just like me, get the textbook. Remember, it's in your Year 10, Year 11 Teams pages. Grab them, find them, read them, answer them, revise, catch up. See you later.